it has helped me so much by allowing the laws to be recommunicated to our leave employees. Because, yeah, you'll hear it from myself. I'll tell you, you have to use your state leave, or you have to use Guardian, or, New York does this, but Utah does that. And for them to see it, not only in paper and writing from what I'm saying and what I'm communicating via email, but also to see it also on the platform, being it reiterated multiple times, it makes my job so much easier, so that when it comes to pay, we know what's happening. Pay is, I've told many individuals, pay is the number one thing individuals are looking for when they go on a leave. It's, yes, they need the time, whether it's a medical, parental, caregiver, they need that time for themselves, but their main concern is pay. How am I going to get paid? How's my livelihood going to continue while I'm on this leave? So that has helped tremendously, along with the communication. I don't know what it is about everybody at Tilt, but everybody's so empathetic. And
that's still by design, I think.
So it's nice to have somebody like I do different from other clients that Tilt works with, but I am a little bit more closer to our employees. So I have an intake conversation with them prior to sending them to Tilt. So after I'm done crying with them, because they're going through whatever they're going through, then it's nice to have a leave success manager to kind of step in and go, oh, I'm hearing about this, and Corey, it's going to be okay. I'm going to take this portion and you can take this portion. So we kind of bounce off of one another. That has been so helpful to have, because in another organization, they were very cut and dry. It was, this is what it is. Do your paperwork. And if you don't do this, then your leave won't get approved. And we need to have a little bit more flexibility in that area. I think any organization needs to have flexibility. I understand like the business is important, but you need to have flexibility when somebody's going through something that's detrimental or just exciting. There's a lot of communication to remind them of, hey, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? And mainly because it's all tied to their pay. It all, like I said, it all goes back to pay. They're asking me questions on, am I going to get paid this much? Am I going to get paid on this date? The pay calc on the screen shows them an idea of what it will look like if you do X, Y, and Z things. If it's a regular parental leave that does not have a state a component to it, then yes, you will get your regular pay through the organization. So that's pretty easy to calculate. If you are in a state where you do have a state leave plan, and then not only that, then there's also Guardian that you have to calculate it. You have to do those steps in order to get there.
I was just going to add, when because there could be instances where someone might miss a deadline or something like that. There are reminders of everything that the employee needs to do, but also there's a real life event happening that might be really distracting for someone, which is why sometimes it can be that much more important to let them know when they have things coming up, maybe repeatedly, because for all we know, their whole life has been flipped upside down, and filling out paperwork might be the last thing on their mind. And we just try to take an approach where there's empathy there and understanding. Yeah. And I think that's where all the reminders is kind of our approach to that, and laying everything out step by step. But yeah, you laid it out perfectly. Sorry, Emma, I did not mean to...
No, you're fine. No. I was just going to say, it sounds like Corey is a great example too of just a person who likes to utilize Tilt as a partner, as opposed to, Tilt does have some customers that are like, we want to hand it over to you. Like, I don't have the bandwidth, or I don't have what it takes to manage this. So can you just do it? And I think that's great. We also have partners that are, kind of working together on it. And it sounds like that's kind of more the position that you're in. And I feel like that's kind of unique to Tilt as well, that you are able to maintain a little bit of control over the process. Like you said, you're the trusted, your employees trust you and they want to come to you. And I think taking that piece out of it would make things very difficult for people who are trying to navigate going on leave and having to communicate with a stranger that they don't quite have that trust with.
I agree. Yeah, it's a partnership. I've looked at it that way since I came on board. It's a partnership. I'm not just handing anything. I don't have control issues, maybe. but like I'm not just going to hand something over. I have to make sure that it is doing what it needs to be, what it needs to do. And I mean, there's even been instances where we've had an individual we've had a couple of individuals where they just had to leave immediately, and I needed to enact the leave. And then they were communicating with me because they haven't had a chance to meet the leave success manager. And, they're not seeing the other emails coming from Tilt. And so I'm putting in this information and I'm making sure everything is good until it got to like, the state leave or any kind of pay documentation. And that once I fill that in, I let the leave success manager, hey, we have everything we need to do so we can go ahead and build this plan and we can make sure everything is good to go. They'll get to you as soon as possible. They might not reach the deadlines. I don't think they're concerned about, these things right now. We just want to make sure that they're taking the time they need to get what they need to get done. Because there's been, it's a very, some of them can be very serious and very taxing on an individual, and they just don't know what's right from left. And they just need to take the time so they can kind of regroup and do what needs to happen without any additional distractions. Because, I mean, all of us can admit, we can all admit, none of us like paperwork. So, I mean, and if you're going to give us paperwork, that means I have to read what? So you got to read, and then you got to fill stuff out, and you got to remember things. Like prime example, me doing my leave, even though it's not required, stuff that I don't think of on a regular basis. I forgot my birthday. I don't know how I forgot it. I knew like the day and the month, but I was like, what year? And it's like, but it's like stuff that you don't think about. And my leave wasn't like a crisis leave, but like, what if it is a crisis leave for somebody? And they're like, I don't know. Like, I live in a house and like here. So that partnership between Tilt and myself and any other person who wants to use Tilt that way, it will be beneficial if they just, kind of thought the same way. Because being more hands off, you don't really know what's going on until it's going on.
Yeah, that's huge. I think, again, like touching on those, we call them like empathy warriors sometimes here. And like that truly is by design. We look for people who, can actually help, because these are huge, like we've touched on a ton of times, like these are huge life moments. And at Tilt, we don't want these things to be systematic or, going through the motions or whatever. There's an understanding that sometimes you need a human being on the other side of that line for sure.
Yeah, we say you shouldn't have to dial a 1-800 number. You're, going through a bereavement leave or something, right?
Yeah, I think all of us have gotten annoyed with calling a 100 number or talking to a chat bot and we're like, I just want to speak to a human so that you can get what you need to get across in dire situations. I mean, think of it like if you're a homeowner, your pipes break. You don't want to speak to a robot. You want to speak to somebody who can come out and fix the pipes because water costs money, apparently. So like it's the same way in a leave situation, exactly like you said, Gabe. You want to speak to somebody who understands and who can empathize with you if you're going through a bereavement leave, you're going through a medical leave where it's a diagnosis that you never thought you would have to deal with. And now you have to kind of figure out what life looks like after this.
Yeah. Not only that, but it's the same person every time, right? So it's, and they're excited for you when you welcome your new child, or they're grieving with you whenever you have to say goodbye to someone. It's the exact same person every time. You never have to have that awkward conversation of explaining what happened, or having to, this was a parental leave, but it's now turned into a bereavement leave. You don't have to go through that horrifying experience of having to then, let me get you up to speed on my horrible situation I'm in, or, this baby that I just had, she came a week early and here's all the reasons why,
Yeah. And that's so sensitive, and, that it happens more frequently than we realize. And, being able to speak to the exact same person so that you okay, I trust you, and hey, you've been here for me before, so I'm just gonna let you know what's going on. And it might be a situation. Can you just keep this confidential? I don't want to talk to anybody about this. Those are the things that I think Tilt does really well.
I think you just described like the reason Tilt was created.
Absolutely.
These are complicated. They're personal. They can be for good reasons, for bad reasons. But I think touching on the fact that they're so complicated